So my grandma passed away recently. She was 89, and while it hurt to lose her, I take comfort in the fact that she lived a long, full life. She was sharp right until the end, still bossing everyone around at family dinners, and she passed peacefully in her sleep. I miss her, but I'm glad she got the kind of ending she deserved. Fast forward a few weeks, and the whole family gathers for the reading of the will. Nobody really knew what to expect. My grandma wasn't exactly rich, but she had built a good life with my grandpa. The crown jewel of it all was the house, the one he bought when they were young, where they raised all the kids, watched them leave the nest, and eventually spoiled the grandkids, including me. It wasn't a mansion or anything, but it was the family home, the place every holiday and birthday revolved around. So imagine everyone's surprise when the lawyer gets to the part about the house and my name comes out of his mouth. She left it to me. Not her kids, not to be split up between everyone, but specifically me. The room went quiet for a second, and then I felt about 20 pairs of eyes land on me at once. A few of my cousins actually came up and hugged me, saying Grandma had made the right call. They knew I was the one who always came over to help her with groceries, fix the leaky faucet, shovel the driveway. They said, "You'll take care of it the way she would have wanted." That actually made me tear up a little. But not everyone was thrilled. Some people just went quiet, and I could feel the awkward tension building like a thundercloud. Then there was my aunt. You know the type. The kind of relative who has an opinion on everything but suddenly goes radio silent when she's plotting. She didn't congratulate me. Didn't even look me in the eye. She just sat there stiff, her lips pressed so tight I thought she might swallow her own teeth. At first, I brushed it off. Grief makes people act weird, right? But there was something about the way she was staring at the floor, jaw clenched, that made my stomach drop. Like this wasn't just disappointment. It was the beginning of a storm. The next morning, I grabbed some coffee, took a deep breath, and drove over to the house. It still felt surreal. My house now. I was already planning little things, like fixing up the porch swing Grandma loved or repainting the kitchen. I wanted to make it feel alive again. But when I pulled up, I noticed a car already in the driveway. My aunt's. Inside, I found her, let's call her Linda, standing in the living room, dust rag in hand, like she owned the place. She didn't even flinch when I walked in. "Well, nice of you to finally show up," she said without looking at me. "Some of us actually care about keeping the place clean." I blinked. How did you even get in here?" She shot me a look like I'd just asked her what 2 + 2 was. "I have a key. This was my mother's house. Don't act like you're the sheriff around here." My stomach tightened. "Okay, but why are you here?" Her rag dropped onto the table with a smack. "Why am I here? That's a funny way of asking, considering this is a family home. Or are you interrogating me now?" The way she spat the word interrogating made it sound like I'd just accused her of breaking into Fort Knox. She stood there, arms crossed, like she was daring me to say the wrong thing. I didn't want to fight. The last thing Grandma would have wanted was her family clawing at each other over the house she loved so much. So I softened my tone. "Sorry, Linda," I said. I didn't mean it to sound like an interrogation. I just wasn't expecting anyone to be here, that's all. She gave me this sharp little smirk, like she'd just scored a point. Apology accepted, I guess. Her voice dripped with that passive-aggressive sweetness that's more insult than forgiveness. Then, almost on cue, she started walking around the living room, brushing her fingers along the old furniture. "You know, this house has so many memories," she said dreamily. "I remember sitting right there with Mom, watching my first school play costume come together. She worked all night on it, and I wore it proudly." I smiled, remembering my own times here. Yeah, I remember sitting on that couch too. She'd make popcorn for me when I came over after school, and we'd watch those old black and white shows she loved. But instead of sharing the moment, Linda's eyes narrowed. But I was here every day. After all, I lived here. You just visited. It's different. And so it went. Every memory I mentioned, Grandma's kitchen cookies, board games on the dining table, summer afternoons in the backyard, she had a bigger, better story. She wasn't just reminiscing. She was competing. Like we were tallying up who loved the house more, and she was determined to win. I didn't play along. I just nodded, let her talk, and kept my voice calm. but in my chest, I could already feel that tension coiling tighter. I tried to keep it light to avoid fanning the flames. At one point, I even said, "Honestly, I kind of envy how close you are to this place, Linda. You grew up here. That's something I can't really compete with." She stopped mid-step, turned, and gave me this look. Sharp, calculating, like she'd been waiting for that opening. "You're right," she said flatly. "You can't compete. This house should have been mine." I froze. "Excuse me?" Her arms crossed. "Don't act so shocked. Mom wasn't herself those last few years. She was getting senile, forgetful. Everybody noticed. Why else would she leave me, her daughter, out of the will and hand the house over to you?" My mouth went dry. "She wasn't senile, Linda. She knew exactly what she wanted." Linda snorted. "Please. You think she was in her right mind? She probably mixed up the names or something. Or maybe." She let the words hang in the air, her eyes narrowing. "Maybe you convinced her." The way she said it, like an accusation, like I'd tricked my own grandmother on her deathbed, hit me like a punch in the gut. Linda crossed her arms tighter, clearly enjoying how rattled I looked. "You know," she said, her voice syrupy with fake innocence, "I actually called the lawyers this morning, asked them to double-check the will, see exactly when it was written." She tilted her head, eyes glinting. Funny how it was updated just a few months ago, right when Mom was so sick and weak. Almost like someone convinced her to change it. My chest felt hollow. That's not true. Grandma was sick, yeah, but she was still herself. She knew what she was doing. Linda smirked. "We'll see, because I asked the lawyer to come by, to clear things up." I blinked. "You what?" Before she could answer, the doorbell rang. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot. Linda's smile widened, slow and triumphant, as if the bell had rung for her victory. "That'll be him now." My heart pounded. This wasn't just petty resentment anymore. Linda was trying to rewrite the whole story of my grandmother's last wishes. The lawyer stepped inside, shook our hands politely, and set his briefcase down on the dining room table. He glanced between us, adjusting his glasses. "Now, I received a request this morning to go over some details of your mother's will," he said, looking at Linda. "Do you want this discussion to be private, or should your niece hear as well?" Linda leaned back in her chair, folding her arms with a self-satisfied grin. "Oh, she definitely should hear this." I braced myself. The lawyer opened his file and began. "Yes, the will was amended a few months ago, as you suspected, but the amendment was regarding a box of toys. Your mother wanted her youngest grandchild, born last year, to have them. A sentimental gesture, I think." Linda's smile faltered for a second. "Wait, what about the house?" The lawyer adjusted his papers. "The terms regarding the house haven't been touched in over 15 years, long before her illness. In fact, long before your father passed away. She made it very clear back then. The house was to go to her granddaughter," he gestured toward me, "because, in her words, she's the one who will keep it alive." The room felt suddenly heavier, the silence broken only by the sound of Linda's fingernails tapping against the table. Her face went pale, then flushed red. Meanwhile, I just sat there, trying not to look smug. My grandmother had thought about this years ago. Linda's entire accusation, her triumphant buildup, crumbled in an instant. The lawyer gathered his papers, gave us both a courteous nod, and left. The sound of the door clicking shut echoed through the house like the period at the end of a sentence. Linda sat there in silence, her eyes unfocused, lips pressed together so hard they trembled. For a second, she didn't look like the smug, domineering aunt who'd marched in here this morning. She just looked defeated. I stood up, my voice steady but soft. "Linda, I know this isn't easy for you, but I'm going to take care of the house. I'll keep it the way Grandma wanted, and you're welcome here anytime." She didn't answer right away, just stared at me like she couldn't decide whether to scream or cry. Finally, she muttered something under her breath and grabbed her bag, leaving without another word. And that was it. My revenge wasn't some grand scheme, no courtroom showdown or screaming match. It was choosing not to sink down into her bitterness. Grandma trusted me, and that trust had already won. By refusing to play Linda's game, I let her trap herself in her own spite. Blood isn't always thicker than water, but dignity is thicker than hate.